Time. Welcome, everybody. We're going to jump right in. So like I said, if you have any questions throughout, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm going to do my best to get to those before the end of the night and make sure everyone's questions get answered. All right, intermittent fasting 101. We're going to learn the hows and the whys behind fasting. I have seen great success in my own life when it comes to utilizing the tool of fasting. I've used it for weight loss and gut healing purposes, anxiety and depression. I've healed my skin. So many different beautiful things have come from utilizing the tool that is intermittent fasting. So we're going to learn all about it tonight and ways that you could possibly incorporate it in your own life too. So for thousands and thousands of years, from scientists to doctors, philosophers, and spiritual leaders, they've all kind of used some sort of fasting protocol, whether that was to heal the physical body, the mind, or for a spiritual practice. So you've probably heard some of these quotes: all disease begins in the gut, let food be thy medicine, heal your gut, heal your life. Those are all very famous quotes by people throughout over the centuries that had fasting and gut health kind of figured out. So if you were able to join my last Zoom workshop, we talked all about gut health and the importance of your gut microbiome and everything that it impacts in your life. So this is going to kind of go hand in hand with that. So we're going to learn a little bit more about gut health in this and dive into how you can heal on a cellular level from all sorts of disorders, diseases, and more. Sorry, my head's going to be in the way just a little bit, but I'll do my best to work around it. So this is just a little bit of history of fasting, so you kind of know how it got started and how people have used it over the centuries. It first kind of started with spiritual purposes. It was utilized to help people develop spiritual strength. Going without something for a certain length of time is just a way to build resilience and mental toughness and build some strength in your spirituality, and help in resisting temptation. So a lot of cultures have used it in that self-mastery way, if you will. Mental health benefits. This is a big one, especially if you're dealing with memory or mood, like anxiety and depression symptoms, OCD, bipolar, and it's going to help. They've used it, I'm sorry, in the past to help reduce the risk of certain neurological diseases, from Parkinson's to Alzheimer's, and even in attention deficit disorder, especially in children and adults. And of course, there's physical health benefits. We're going to talk a lot about that tonight, how it can impact your blood sugar, stabilize your insulin, and help balance your hormones. And the biggest one, I'm going to move my head, is that is a big fancy word for cleaning house, pretty much. That is the cell's ability to completely get rid of everything that could be potentially harmful to the cell and your body. So that is one of the most important things that your cells do on a daily basis. And we're going to learn more about that as we go, how fasting can impact that. All right, benefits of fasting. Let's start with the good stuff. Obviously, gut health, like we talked about in my last Zoom workshop, is a huge one. It can impact everything from your skin to your mood and your energy levels and the way you sleep at night. Everything begins in the gut. That's where a lot of our hormones are actually produced and used. So if your gut health is not optimal, you can struggle with a lot of different problems, not just physically, but also mentally too. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. But how it can benefit your gut and your digestive system as a whole is it allows the MMC to complete the process. The MMC stands for the migrating motor complex, and that just pretty much is the entire start to finish of your digestion process. And this is a very pinpointed amount of time, but it takes about 3 hours and 45 minutes from mouth to elimination for the MMC to complete the cycle. So a huge benefit of fasting is allowing for that entire process to happen. So often we're eating, every 2 hours, and we're not fully allowing that entirety to happen. So that's a big benefit. And obviously it's going to help stabilize the microbiome. So we know that we've got yeast and bacteria and fungus and all sorts of things that live in our gut, and it giving your gut time in between meals and even extended fasting, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, is a great way to kind of heal and rebalance that microbiome so that it is functioning as best it can. Ketogenesis is another benefit of fasting. You've probably heard of the keto diet. This is essentially just getting your body to learn how to use stored fat as fuel instead of using everything that you're ingesting immediately. So it's a great way to optimize your weight loss because it's teaching your body to run on stored body fat versus always seeking something new to burn off. It can help eliminate cravings, especially for sugar. And it's just going to help you utilize your stored body fat so that potentially you have less of it. So like I said, it's a great weight loss tool. And ketogenesis is also super impactful when it comes to brain health and neurologic function. So there's tons of studies coming out and they're amazing. They're learning all sorts of things about MS and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, how you can utilize fasting and ketogenesis, essentially using that stored body fat is so much more powerful for your brain function. So there's lots of amazing things coming out in the world of that science right now. So it's pretty interesting. Mitochondria health. A lot of people don't talk about the mitochondria after about the 6th grade, but we know that that is the powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria kind of runs the show, and that is where the autophagy happens. So like I said, that's the cell's ability to clean house. I call it taking out the trash. So if you think about all the things that could be negatively impacting your body at a cellular level, everything from toxins in our cleaning products and in our personal care products, down to how much sugar and how much junk food we're eating. All of those things are compounding and negatively impacting each individual cell in your body. So cellular autophagy is when the cells get an opportunity to get all the garbage out so that your cells can function even better. So this is a great tool and way to avoid and prevent chronic illness or chronic disease and even the reversal of it. That's why it's been so used in so many centuries, for so many centuries. And then hormonal health. This is a big one for me too. I've noticed a lot of difference in my own life. So it's a topic that's very near and dear to me. It's going to help lower your cortisol. So cortisol is the stress hormone or the fight or flight hormone. You might have heard it called that too. But it can lead to weight gain, restlessness, lethargy. You can be up all night and tired all day if your cortisol is imbalanced. So fasting is a great tool to help rebalance your cortisol levels to where they should be and help your body produce the appropriate amounts. So that way you're sleeping really well and you have great energy during the day, and hopefully you're not retaining a lot of that weight, especially around your midsection. And then the last one, obviously, blood pressure and blood sugar. Again, it kind of ties into the other areas that I already listed, but it can definitely have a great impact if you struggle with either one of those. Okay, here we go. Fasting and weight loss. This is usually everybody's favorite topic, and it's a little bit misunderstood. So I want to break down why you could potentially lose weight while you're fasting. Usually people think it's because you're just reducing your calories because the eating window, the amount of time that you're spending in a day is smaller, so you must just be consuming less. Well, that's not really the case. So I call it the CICO conundrum. CICO stands for calories in, calories out. But as you know, if you were on my last Zoom call or if you've ever talked to me, all calories are not created equal. If I eat a Snickers bar and I eat a pound of broccoli, they could be the exact amount same amount of calories, but they're going to impact my body completely different because one is a whole food source that comes from the planet. There's no bonus ingredients, no artificial anything, no preservatives, nothing like that, no sugar. So it's going to help eliminate, hopefully, some of, I guess, the calories you don't want to intake. You can partner that with fasting and really have a potent weight loss tool in front of you. Now I want to talk about the metabolism myth. I think we've all been fed this little lie of stoking your metabolism and, you know, burning more calories because you are burning hotter if you eat more frequently. And that's really not the case. Going back to the MMC and talking about cellular autophagy, if your body and especially your digestive system is never getting the full amount of time it needs from start to finish to do the entire process, you really are just bogging it down. Think about, you know, when your trash can starts to fill up and you aren't taking it out and it starts overflowing and things get messy around your trash can, the same thing is kind of happening inside of your body. So you have to be sure that you're allowing that entire process to happen for optimal gut function. And that is a huge promoter of maintaining a healthy weight. If your gut is healthy, usually your weight is fairly healthy too. And then I do want to touch on blood sugar regulation because that is kind of a hidden gem when it comes to weight loss. I think most people have some sort of insulin resistance. So that's kind of a precursor to type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. But we eat a lot of sugar in our society, and we're also eating very frequently and not allowing our body to get the optimal amount of time in between meals or even between our last meal of the day and by the time we wake up and eat something immediately in the morning. So, you know, your insulin really does serve a lot of big purposes in your body, but number one, it unlocks your fat cells. So if your insulin is not doing what it's supposed to, if it's not working properly because your blood sugar is always really high, it can never have the opportunity to unlock the fat cells to use as stored body fat. So that could be why you're retaining a lot of body fat, because your insulin is all over the place and it's not doing its job of unlocking the fat cells so that your body can use the fat that's stored there as energy throughout the day. And like I said earlier, we already talked about ketones, but that's really what your brain functions on. So making sure that your blood sugar stays stable and low is going to improve your cognitive function or your brain health exponentially, because it's going to help produce or help use those fat cells or ketones. And then I could do a whole talk on this, so I won't talk too much about it, but the importance of liver detoxification. Insulin plays a big role in that, and having high blood sugar consistently it really harms your liver. It cannot keep up. Your liver gets bogged down. People end up with fatty liver or liver disease or even liver cancer. And it's not always because of alcohol consumption. A lot of times it's due to processed foods and consistently high blood sugar. So super, super important. Anybody got questions yet? We're doing good. There's a lot of information. All right, so those are some of the main benefits of fasting. Now I want to talk about different types of fasting because there are so many, and you guys have probably heard of a million different things out there. There's so much information that you can find. You know, Dr. Google knows everything. When you Google something, you're going to get all sorts of answers. So I just want to make sure you guys feel really confident and clear, because fasting, like I said at the beginning, is a tool that can be utilized. It's not a fad diet or, you know, something that you necessarily need to do every day or forever, but knowing your options and knowing how they could benefit you, then you get to use your own discernment and decide how to use the tool. So the most common type of fasting is the 16-8 fast. So that is essentially fasting for 16 hours and then giving yourself an 8-hour eating window. So your goal would be to get 2 to 3 meals in that 8-hour window and fast for the remaining 16. So obviously you would have to base this on your lifestyle, because If you wake up at 4 in the morning to get ready for work or do your workout and then try to fast until noon, you might not feel the greatest. So you really have to learn what those eating and fasting windows are going to look like for you personally, because it's going to be a little bit different for everyone based on their lifestyle, their activity level, and even what you're eating in that window can cause different amounts of hunger at different times of day. So it's something you kind of have to play with and get to learn, you know, what is most beneficial for you personally. And then I have utilized that fasting window frequently on and off for years and years. And I see great benefits when it comes to my mental, ability in the morning. I feel very clear. I also feel less bloated, when you wake up in the morning, because you've given your body the ample amount of time to process everything in that 16-hour fasting window. I've seen improvements in my skin, in my sleep, and much, much less anxiety, and really no symptoms of depression anymore. And I struggled with that a lot. So it definitely helped heal my gut, utilizing that fasting window. And then I also have used the OMAD technique. That stands for 1 meal a day. So that essentially is you give yourself 2 to 4 hours to eat pretty much all your calories for the day, and then fast the rest of the time. This one is a little bit more tricky. It's more challenging for people, especially if they have families or kids, or, reasons that they would be eating multiple times a day or eating communally. I think that can be a challenge too. So that's something that you could utilize on and off again, or maybe even like once a month you do an OMAD style just to reduce bloating, or, if you're struggling with something with your gut, especially, that's a great protocol to try, just to see if you can calm some inflammation, improve your digestion for a little bit, and give your body just a break. And then there's extended fasts. Extended fasts are hard because they are long and it's not fun for us to not eat. So obviously it's something that can be done. We can live a long, long time with all of our stored body fat. Even if you have a lower body fat percentage, you can make it days and days, hours and hours without ingesting anything. The tricky part is the mental side. It gets really tough to not chew anything or watch other people eat and not eat anything. But that is where the true magic happens. If you're struggling with something, and you're trying to heal from something or prevent chronic illness or chronic disease, if you're struggling with blood sugar instability, if you have really any of the things that I talked about when it comes to neurological disorders, especially like MS and Parkinson's and autoimmune disease, especially if you can perform an extended fast at some point in time, it really helps. It really gives your body that time, that autophagy time. We talk about cleaning, taking out the trash. It gives it so much more time to focus on that. If you think about your body, as it can only do one thing at a time really well. So if you're constantly doing a bunch of things and giving it a bunch of things to work on, like constantly consuming food or putting toxic skincare on or being stressed out, I mean, all those things, anything that comes at you throughout the day or you're doing, your body is trying to handle for you. So if you think about the less you put on its plate, literally, the better it's going to function and the better it can kind of clean up. So you're going to feel really, really great. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to do this in just a second. So then there is my favorite, the fast mimicking diet. Fast mimicking is usually how I suggest people get started if they want to start fasting. Fast mimicking is essentially tricking your body into still using stored body fat, even though you've ingested something. So you literally eat something really, really high in fat so that it doesn't change your blood sugar at all. It doesn't signal an insulin response at all. And your body thinks it's still in a fasted state, yet you have something in your stomach. So the easiest way to do this, you guys have probably heard of Bulletproof Coffee. I'm a Bulletproof affiliate, but essentially Bulletproof Coffee is the idea that you can drink your coffee, and by adding 100% fat to your coffee, nothing, no protein, no sugar, no carbs, nothing will signal that blood sugar or that insulin change. So your body will continue to run on stored fat, even though you have something in your stomach. So you're going to feel more satiated. You're going to trick your body and your mind into thinking that you're full while your body is still giving you all the benefits that we talked about before of fasting. So I use the bulletproof coffee method just a few days a week, and I love it. It helps me extend my fast, and I still get all the mental benefits. I get all the energy of the coffee and all the gut health benefits of it as well. So that's a great way to kind of get started. If you're ever interested in more information about that, you can definitely reach out to me, and I would love to share more about Bulletproof with you. And then another one that I utilize a lot and I really love, I think is another great way to start, is crescendo fasting. So that is just the idea that you don't have to do the exact same fasting window every single day. I think people get really rigid and too hyper-focused on the numbers sometimes. So you have to really find what works for you and what feels good. But again, you can do alternate day fasting. You can fast every other day, or maybe you fast a 16-8 for 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, you're a little bit more flexible in your eating window. So it just kind of, like I said, it goes back to what's going to be most comfortable for you, what's going to work for you. If you're not trying to necessarily heal a certain ailment, you kind of have to play around with it and see what feels intuitively the best for you. And then the last one, you can also choose to fast from certain things. So this is another simple way to start, and it doesn't have to be even food. You could fast from coffee. You could fast from social media. You could fast from television. You can do any sort of fasting. Fasting just means to go without for X amount of time. So you could choose what you want to give up for a certain amount of time and tell yourself that this is the amount of time that you're going to fast from whatever you choose. So again, going back to the spiritual aspect of it, and the mindset part, if you feel like you're spending too much time in front of a screen, maybe you fast from social media for the weekend. So it's just another option to help you get started, especially if you're interested in doing more of that on the nutrition side. Okay, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit because I only have a few minutes. So I'm going to talk fast. So drop your questions if you have them. I saw one come in. I'm going to try to get to it. Let's talk about how to start fasting. Easiest way is to pick 12 hours that you can close the kitchen. So if you eat dinner at 6:30 p.m., set a goal to not eat breakfast until after 6:30 a.m. 12 hours is usually an easy way to start because you're already going to be sleeping for at least 7 of those. You might be in your bedroom for 9 of them. So really it's only an hour and a half at night and an hour and a half in the morning that you aren't going to be snacking or eating something. So start with 12 hours, just close the kitchen, and then don't eat breakfast immediately upon waking. And that's the easiest way to get into it. And then you can slowly extend from those 12 hours. Another thing I always make a really big point of is knowing your why. Why are you fasting? If you're doing it just because you're on this call and I told you it was good to do, that's not always a good reason. So make sure that you're your own advocate and you understand why you're choosing to fast from something, and you understand why you're choosing the window that you want to try. And if you don't know and you want help figuring that out, that is literally my job. So please reach out to me if you ever want more information about fasting, or if you're interested in trying to get started. Start slowly, obviously, like I said, get in tune with your body. That can be a hard one, but again, the more you practice it, the better. And then variety, going back to all the types of fasting, if you can alternate them or try different things, I think sprucing it up and trying new things is really great, because again, it helps you get in tune with your body and helps you understand how these things are affecting you positively or negatively. 3 S's to boost IF results. We're going to go quick here. Sleep is a big one. That's a big part of fasting. Obviously, it's going to be easiest to fast while you're asleep, but that is when your body does the most regeneration. So that's a big important part. Stress reduction. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're managing your stress as best as possible and avoiding triggers that could possibly stress you out more. And the last one is sweating. So adding in some light exercise, especially if you're on an extended fast, don't do anything too crazy. But you could also just sweat through being hot. So you could go outside if it's a hot day, you could jump in a hot bath or something like that. These are just a few of my favorite resources for fasting. If you want to learn more about them, you can screenshot this or take a picture of this page. But these are just some of my favorite books, podcasts, and social media accounts to follow. I'm going to jump into the questions. We have one, is there a minimum time that you should fast? Like I said, it kind of varies person to person. I would say 12 hours is a great place to start. That is when cellular autophagy really kicks in. So 12 hours is a great place to start because it's going to give you all of the healing benefits without feeling like you're starving. So 12 hours is always great. And then if you can start to extend it to 13, maybe step into 14. And then when you're comfortable, you can extend it just a little bit further. All right, you guys. If there's any other questions, drop them in there. If not, oh, we got one more. Is there a certain food to eat right before you start your fast? I love that question. Usually the less junk food you eat, the better your fast feels. So if you eat cookies and ice cream before you end up fasting, it's going to feel a lot more difficult because your blood sugar is going to skyrocket and then it's going to plummet, which leads you to feeling hungry or feeling like you need to eat again. So definitely a high protein meal would be great. Will a high amount of protein still be needed during the eating period for weight loss? Yes, that's a more advanced question. I love that, but I always recommend, paying attention to your protein intake because it is so important to muscle maintenance. And that's the real important part of weight loss. It's a component that is kind of overlooked a lot. So definitely maintaining that amount of protein that you're shooting for. And if you have questions on the amount of protein you should be eating, go ahead and message me after this because I can definitely help you with that too. Awesome, you guys. Those were great questions. We're about to get kicked off, so I just wanted to say thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, please, please, please reach out to me. You can contact me Facebook, Instagram, or email. And I can't wait to do my next workshop for you guys. I thank you again, and I hope everybody has a great night.